So let's talk about the thing. This is like, this is your FI to my knowledge.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this is your FI. So what? No.
Well, yes. Well, yes. I can explain that further. Do you want me to talk about it?
I think you should talk about the thing. What's the thing?
Okay. Well, so there was a thing that was brewing in my mind for a while as it relates to the impending doom of automation, which I think is great. Like, I love AI and I love the robots, but at the same time, I knew that was going to create a big void in some area. And I was like, there's this thing that can be made that would help with the void that's going to come. And the answer for that really ended up being through learning about type and learning about what FE really was and the value of human connection and how that's going to be kind of like the most valuable thing of the future, because the level of automation is going to be so much higher that having like authentic conversations with people, if you're not getting them at the grocery store, if you're not getting them, when you go check out of a hotel, if you're not getting them in all these places where we've been used to them, there's going to be a greater void in that area. And so the idea of Snug was birthed out of that. And the idea that well, what is value? Like people pay for value, right? Mm-hmm. And like, it doesn't matter if it's it's with scarcity, right? Like, that's why diamonds are valuable, because there is less of them available. Nice. And so the same thing is like with human connection and time, and like the value of conversation, the value of consultation, the value of the one-on-one of a person, and making that process easier for people to do. And so I realized that basically to have, video sessions that were scheduled and paid for and have video combined, there wasn't a platform that did all three. You had to integrate separate parts, and it wasn't a one thing. And my NI and TE could just not be on board with all the potential chaos that would happen if I was using 3 separate platforms to do something that I wanted to do. Because I'm like, well, what happens if I reschedule? Or what happens if something cancels? How will the payment thing know if this is going to happen? And then how will this be able, and that brought up a level of anxiousness. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, this fits into this thing, right? And then the thing was born in my brain, which was Snug. And so I've been working on that for the past few years. And at first it was really scary, because I was like, I was looking at this thing, I didn't really understand what it was. And I was like, oh, this is a platform. This is a platform as a service. This is a technology startup. This is not my field, how would I basically, there was a big piece of me that was like, this isn't even for you, because it's outside of your, this is outside of your wheelhouse in a lot of ways. It's a great idea. I never doubted the concept and that it would work, but I'm like, actually making it SE real, I'm like, this is totally out of your wheelhouse. And so I realized at some point, I'm like, okay, this is big, but I can, do this. Other people do this. And so I was like, well, I need to get some help with someone else on board, to do this with me. And I ended up finding a person who, it was funny. It was I was already doing it YouTube at that point, and they were just looking to collaborate with a YouTuber on some stuff. And they were a software developer, and they lived right by me. And so it was like, hey, you want to do some stuff with YouTube? I want to build this thing. Are you down? And they totally understood it. And I was like, oh my gosh, they actually understand. And that was such a big thing too. Because I was like, how do I get someone on board with this thing? I felt like my personal baby idea. Yeah. And, give it to them. And what if they squash it? Or what if they think it's stupid? Or what if they and they didn't. So that was great. But the whole thing was so interesting, because I really had to separate it from my FI. It was very much a part of my FI. Mm-hmm. But it's I almost was trying to protect it too much, because at the end of the day, I had to realize this is just an idea. This is just an idea that may or may not work. It may grow to be huge. It may not. People may hate it. They may love it. Either way, I have to separate it from myself. This is just an idea. And by doing that, it had helped me to push it further without it being so personal to me. And that was kind of a part of it too. So this is kind of the overview.
Yeah, no. So if you don't mind, so what I'd love to do is revisit that. I'm peacocking sleep processing, guys. You know it's last year. Okay. I'm gonna pretend to do sleep processing here. Or it's like I kind of want to revisit it and just break it down from an OP perspective because I think there's a lot here. That's when I heard that, I was like, this is,